Hello, Presbyterians. My name is Judi Harris. I'm the Director of Refugee Services for St. Vincent Catholic Charities. And I was asked to do a presentation for you all today about refugee resettlement in Michigan. I am a Presbyterian. I'm a member of the Presbyterian Church of Okemos, and I've been to many of these Presbyterian meetings as a representative and an elder of that congregation. So thank you all for inviting me. I work in Lansing at St. Vincent Catholic Charities, and so I can really only speak to what's happening in Lansing, but I do believe that what we do here is very similar to what's happening in other parts of the state. So I hope it's relevant to everybody. So like many other refugee resettlement agencies, we formally started providing refugee resettlement in the late 1970s as the U.S. Involvement in the Vietnam conflict ended. And our original resettlement clients were Southeast Asians, and then we've evolved over the years to whatever's happening in the world and responding to all of these kinds of crises. And so over the last 45 years, we estimate that we've resettled about 17,000 people from 54 different countries. So all resettlement agencies work through national affiliate agencies, and this is the list of all 9 of those national agencies. So we are obviously affiliated with U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, but also in Michigan, so Lutheran Immigrant and Refugee Services, they are the affiliate of Samaritas. You may have heard of them. They work a lot in refugee resettlement in Detroit and in Western Michigan. HIAS is the resettlement agency for Detroit and for Ann Arbor. That's for Jewish Family Services. And then Church World Service is the national affiliate for Bethany Christian Services, and they're very active in the Western Michigan area. And then USCRI is another refugee resettlement agency that works primarily in Detroit. And these other agencies, they are very important and wonderful, hardworking people, but they're not in Michigan. So here in Lansing, we have always tried to be as diverse as possible. We want to be able to respond to whatever crisis is out there, to be able to answer Washington when they call and say, hey, we have somebody coming from this country, can you help them? And so that's why we have this kind of pie chart that's very, very diverse. In other places, you might only see Arabic speakers. So you'll have, Syrians and Iraqis only, but here we want to be open to that. It makes it harder for us because we do have to have languages for all these folks, but it also makes it so that we're able to fulfill our mission as completely as we can. So in general, the role of refugee resettlement agencies, and particularly here in Lansing, is that first we provide everybody resettlement services, and these go on for up to 90 days after somebody's arrival. And it includes housing, finding housing, putting furniture and household goods in those houses, picking up at the airport, making sure that they have food, providing lots of hours of orientation, help with their health screenings, get them access to their benefits, school enrollment, Social Security cards, Michigan ID cards, all of that kind of stuff. And then we connect them to the community as quickly as possible, either through a church or through their Islamic center or temple, or through volunteers, because that really helps them to integrate and become self-sufficient as soon as possible. Self-sufficiency is our ultimate goal. And then we provide employment services, and we are able to provide employment services with a grant for up to 5 years after somebody's arrival. So that includes planning, training, English classes, financial literacy classes, connecting our clients with employers, application support, interview support, transportation, all of those kinds of things. We also have a special grant called Preferred Communities, and that allows us to provide intensive case management to anybody who's here who happens to have special needs. If they have medical conditions or disabilities, or they need some more mental health support, we can provide that kind of service for them. And then we have some post-resettlement grants, which help us to provide classes for people, help them with emergencies and home visits. And that really helps them to push forward and go from beyond just surviving here to really thriving and doing well. So like many refugee resettlement agencies around the country, we've had a crazy time. So especially over the last 10, 11 years. So these are our arrivals. since 2011. We used to get around, 500, 600 arrivals a year. We got a big spike in 2016. That's when President Obama was trying to respond effectively to the Syrian crisis. And so he really brought in a lot of Syrians that year. And so our numbers went way up. And then we had an election, which changed everything. And so with the new administration, our previous administration, which was not as friendly to refugee resettlement, everything went down and down and down. Especially 2017 was very rough because the program started and stopped many times that year. There were travel bans and Muslim bans and all of those kinds of things. So we went very far down. We expected to pick up this last year in 2021, but because of COVID and because the resettlement processes overseas had been so dismantled, we weren't able to increase as much as we wanted to. But then there was a new presidential determination for fiscal year 2022, and President Biden promised that we would get a lot more. And so we were projected to receive about 400 refugees this year, 2022. And then Afghanistan happened. So that changed things a little bit. And so, as you all probably saw in the news, back last August, the U.S. started a program called Operation Allies Welcome. And initially that was supposed to help a lot of our allies in Afghanistan, people who worked for the U.S. government, to come here and to be safe with a special immigrant visa. And what happened was, as everything deteriorated in Kabul, we had a historic airlift of about 125,000 people out of Afghanistan, out of Kabul. And among them, a lot of those were US citizens and other folks from other countries, but there were about 65,000 Afghans who were brought here to the US to be processed, and they were spread among 9 military bases throughout the country. So all of these 65,000 need to go somewhere. And so there was a call out to all of us resettlement agencies: how many can we take? Michigan in total agreed to take 1,650. Among them are 300 that were projected to come to Lansing. And keep in mind that this is on top of the 400 refugees from all other parts of the world. So that made our little graphic look like this. And so this is a little crazy right now, going from 95 to 700. So things have changed a little bit for us, and we're very stressed out and busy, and still trying to expand to be able to handle this situation. So we were told back in September that starting October 1st, we would see an avalanche of arrivals, and we did. And so since the end of September and October, we have conducted 59 airport pickups in the last 4.5 months. Most of the arrivals that we get in Lansing, because of our proximity to Chicago and Detroit, which is where they usually transfer, most of our arrivals are from 11 p.m. to 12 midnight. And so from all of that, our last arrival came on February 19th, and this was a lovely family of 4. And this is considered the end of what they're calling phase 1 of the Afghan resettlement program. They just started using the terminology phase 1 because we didn't know there were going to be multiple phases. So it's starting to traumatize us a little bit. But phase 1 has ended. All of the military bases are closed except for Fort Dix. Fort Dix is remaining open to continue to process some of the refugees or the Afghans who are still overseas on military bases, who will eventually be coming here. So Lansing, in the end, received 278 Afghans. Of them, 52% were Dari speakers, 48% Pashto speakers, 60% males, 40% females, 53% are adults, 47% children. And of the children, 44% of them are young children under the age of 5. So we were very surprised about that, that there were so many children. And most of them are very young children, hardly any teenagers, actually. 3 of the children came with relatives other than their parents. And so we're keeping a really good eye on them and making sure that they're doing okay. And throughout all that time, since October 1st of last year, we've also resettled 53 refugees from other parts of the world, including Congo, Sudan, Syria, Iraq, and Burma. But these are more than just numbers. So I want to give you a little more details about who came. So of our 278, we had 4 newborn babies. They're all US citizens. They were born on military bases, or there's been a couple born here in Lansing. We have at least 10 more babies on the way. This is what we know of. So every time we turn around, there's another surprise good news for us. We have 1 doctor, 2 dentists, 1 nurse, and 1 medical assistant, 1 professional chef, 27 members of Afghan military or special forces, 4 pilots, and all 4 of those pilots are being recertified as pilots here in the US, 2 mechanics, 2 teachers, a journalist. We also have security guards, drivers, cleaners, seamstresses, farmers, mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters. All of them are precious to someone, and all of them have loved ones that they worry about back in Afghanistan. Some of our biggest challenges have been documentation, so especially employment authorization documents, Social Security cards, I-94s. Most of this was supposed to happen back in the military bases, but it's just been a mess. Just too many people came at once, and a lot of these have gotten lost, and so we're still sorting through it. We still have people who arrived back in October who don't have their documents, and that's really challenging because we can't help them to start working yet. Staffing has been a big challenge for us. It's a challenge for everybody in the country, I believe. There's a labor shortage. And especially for us, we really have to hire particular kinds of people that speak the languages and understand the culture. So that's been hard. And there's been a lot of pressures. It's a really hard job. They're working weekends. We worked through all the holidays. As soon as we hire a new case manager, another case manager just can't take it anymore, and they couldn't find a different job. So that's been really hard, especially because when you're already shorthanded, everybody's working a little bit more. Housing has been a huge challenge, although we're doing better than we expected. We have a great housing specialist who's been able to move people out as soon as possible. Because everybody came so quick, they're all in hotels. Not all of them, but everybody starts off in a hotel for at least a couple of weeks. And then as we can find housing for them, we're moving them out. So we're still moving people out fairly quickly. And then trauma and expectations. Really, this group, more than any other group, has experienced significant trauma coming into this. Right as just getting on the plane was a traumatic, violent experience for most. Some of them were separated by their loved ones at the door, like the doors closed and they let go of a hand, and that's the last time they saw somebody. So that's been really challenging for them. Also, being in these military camps for as long as they were has caused a lot of stress in them. They're tired of it, they're grumpy, and they just want their life to be able to start. So those are some of our challenges, but we have far more successes in this program. Our biggest success by far is just this incredible outpouring of support from this community. And I believe it's the same all over Michigan. So financial donations. I mean, as soon as this program started and people were watching the news, they were just giving us money and saying, help these people. And so that's what we're doing. We got enough money that we're able to pay deposit and at least 2 months rent for every Afghan family. We were able to help them with emergencies. We give them driver's training, bicycles, all kinds of things to really help them to be successful this time. So that's great. We have a lot of in-kind contributions, furniture, household goods, really able to set people up. We had to buy a big container, rent a big container to put on our parking lot so that we could store all of these contributions. It's been crazy. We have amazing community partners who are helping with lots of different services. Some are helping with our school enrollments. Others are providing, women's social circles, all kinds of things. And we have this great Afghan Association of Michigan that's a group of young Afghan people who want to help people who are coming here new. These are Afghans who came many years ago, and some of them are now citizens here. But they greet every single family coming in, make sure that people know that they're not alone. They're collecting donations of household goods and appliances and furniture and clothing and shoes, and they're able to distribute those to everybody. And then they also do social events, again, to make sure that people don't feel alone and disconnected here. We have an amazing state refugee coordinator here. The state of Michigan is serving as a model to other places in the country. We had people coming from Washington back in November to see how this is all working here. Our state refugee coordinator was able to see that this is not refugee resettlement. This is more like an emergency operation, and got the state of Michigan to help pay for the hotel rooms, the transitional housing, and to help us with food deliveries. And we've got a great partnership with the Greater Lansing Food Bank that's delivering hot meals for all the folks that are in the hotels. So that's been fabulous. We have lots of people came forward to volunteer. Over 50 people are right now connected with families in new families that have come. So that's been great. And we had a tremendous holiday giving program this year. I wish I had numbers, but everybody's too busy to calculate those numbers for me yet. But someday I'll have those for people. Some of our service successes are that we've conducted 57 group orientations, which is tremendous. We've had 39 people so far, and this is, of course, a few weeks ago when I got this data. 39 people have gotten jobs, 17 people have gotten driver's licenses, 88 people have been continuously participating in English classes. We've set up 42 different houses. This is as of mid-February, and 11,773 individual meals have been provided, again, as of mid-February. So those numbers have gone up quite a bit since preparing this presentation. So what's still needed? So one of the big issues with this program is that everybody who came all the Afghans who came were granted humanitarian parole status. So that's a very precarious immigration status, and it needs to be either renewed every year or they need to get asylum. And so they have to go through immigration services. There really just aren't enough immigration lawyers in the country to be able to handle the volume of services that are needed. And these are, of course, costly. So at our office, we're still collecting contributions from the community to pay for these services so that our clients can get these services pro bono. So along that vein as well, we need advocacy for some kind of Afghan Adjustment Act, which would allow their immigration status to go from humanitarian parole automatically into something that will allow them to adjust to get permanent residence or a green card. It just doesn't make sense to keep them as humanitarian parolees constantly under threat of being, repatriated to Afghanistan or deported to Afghanistan. We went through a lot to get them here and save them. They need to be able to have the opportunity to stay here. And of course, we still need housing, lots and lots of housing. We're doing pretty well, but if anybody knows anybody in Lansing that has a rental property that wants to participate in this program, give me a call because we can use them. And then we need to continue sending love to Afghanistan. We're not done with this program. There's still 5,000 people being processed overseas. Some of them will come to Michigan still. So that's our phase 2. We don't know how many will come to Lansing, but we're sure we'll get quite a few. But then there's over 1 million Afghans that have fled Afghanistan in the past 4 months, and they're fleeing into Iran and into Pakistan. In some cases, they're being sent right back to Afghanistan, which puts them in even more danger. So that's a terrible situation. Every Afghan here has someone that they love in Afghanistan, and they want them to join them here to save their lives. And so there's going to be a lot of stress among the population here about who is still in Afghanistan, what kind of danger that they're in, and they're going to be trying their hardest to get them here through some kind of immigration channel, if it even exists. And then back in Afghanistan, assets have been frozen. The economy is in collapse, and the regime we know is very cruel. So experts are predicting mass starvation. So we really, really need to keep praying for them. So that's what we need to do now is pray a lot for Afghanistan, keep sending them the love, keep the doors open. Don't forget about what's happening there just because the attention has changed to a new crisis in the world. Keep advocating for them. Talk to your political leaders about the Afghan Adjustment Act and for whatever can be done to serve the people overseas with some kind of protection. Keep supporting services here, especially immigration services and immigration lawyers. This is a critical need right now, just to keep people from constantly having that stress of, am I going to be able to stay here? And should I even invest in being here at this point? And just do what you always do, because you're wonderful people, keeping the lessons of the gospel to love everyone and welcome strangers. Thank you all for being the light of the world, for doing everything that you always do to help refugees and the stranger. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, and I'll be around for questions. Thank you so much.